everybody. Sorry for the delay. I had a problem with my computer. Hello everybody. Sorry for the delay. I had sent you the PowerPoint slides and I had uploaded them to MetaClass, but I wasn't able to film this video due to a problem in my computer. Now we are able to fix it, and today we will mention about what motivation is actually. When I checked your study guides, you have done pretty good and you have defined motivation and answered the other questions very neatly. Thank you for those. And now let's go over those pre-knowledge and pre-learning stuff, and let's see if what you knew and what you found as an information match with what I'm gonna deliver you today. As you see, motivation is defined as a driving force that initiates and directs behavior. So most of you already know, and I can understand this from your papers, that we need motivation to initiate a behavior we want to do actually at its basis, and it brings a kind of internal energy which drives a person to do something in order to achieve something. So you will see some questions at the end of these slides. I will ask you to check yourself. What are the things that you want to achieve? Okay? And if you want to achieve that, you should do something. But in order to do something, you should move. You should take action. So we need the motivation for that, for getting into some action to do the things that we want to achieve. And it's a temporal or dynamic state within a person, and this is not very much concerned with person's personality, the research say. And it's derived from Latin word movere, which means to move, which is to take action, of course. So let's go with motivation processes. In order to be motivated for something, there should be a need at the beginning. This may be a psychological or physiological need. And what need arises from is the deficiency. So there should be something lacking that you want to compensate for, and this turns into a need for you. And afterwards, a drive, or what we call so forth motive, takes in, and to let the individual behave in a certain manner to meet the need. And as a result, you will get an incentive. This means you will achieve what you want to achieve. This means that you will cover up the deficiency you felt at the beginning of this process, okay? And let's see briefly how need is defined in the literature. A need is a physiological or psychological imbalance. This leads to a need, okay? Either physiologically or psychologically, I'm feeling some deficits and there's an imbalance, and this leads to a need. And the other thing is the motives. This fosters us to attain our goals or to satisfy our need, as I previously explained in our previous slide. And incentives are the things that mitigate a need and decrease the intensity of a drive, okay? As a result, I get something, I achieve something. When we are talking about what especially attracts our attention is the motives as you can guess it, because it makes us to move in order to satisfy our needs. So let's briefly talk about the classification of motives. First type of motive is primary motives. They are physiological based, they are not learned, okay? And the second type of motive is general motives, and they are neither purely primary nor secondary. They are not learned and not physiologically based. So they stimulate attention within a person. For example, curiosity, manipulation, and activity motives, and also affection motives. Love, is it a need? Really? So it's not something so physiological, or it's not something secondary. So we can classify curiosity, manipulation, activity motives, and affection motives under the general headline of general motives. And thirdly, we have secondary motives. These are the learned things. You don't learn love, okay? It is existing, but they don't have any physiological or psychological base after a point. So when we are talking about secondary motives, they are learned and acquired over time. These are achievements, affiliations, security, etc. All are our learned secondary motives. And when we check the types of motivation in terms of the nature, we see that there are 3 types of motivation. Actually, extrinsic and intrinsic motivation are also types of motivation, but you will see them under the theory of drive reduction. And maybe while you were checking your resources in terms of your study guide, maybe you already saw that there are lots of theories of motivation, there are lots of classifications of motivation, but at your level, under the scope of this physiological psychology course, what is needed, what is necessary is to keep these types of motivation, homeostatic, non-homeostatic, and learned or social motivation in your mind, and also to keep intrinsic and extrinsic types of motivation in your mind will be enough, okay? Let's go with what homeostatic motivation is. You already know homeostasis, right? It's like balance. And when we are talking about homeostatic motivation, we are talking about maintenance of homeostasis. And this is particularly important in directing a behavior. This is the tendency to maintain a balance within a biological system. And in a body system, you already know that we have this control center, which is often a part of brain, receiving input from the receptors outside, and as a result, they are there to correct any imbalance in the body detected by the control center. Okay, we are after setting the balance in the system, driven by our neurons and our control system, any part of brain. You already know how we receive sensory information outside and how to regulate it in our physiological body through the nervous system, right? And at the basis of homeostatic motivation, the need is to keep this balance in the system. And when we see some types of homeostatic motivation stuff, we see hunger, thirst, aspiration, excretion. When you see them generally, what do they refer to in general? Actually, survival, right? And these are all about our general physiological system. So, let's give an example to homeostatic motivation. Let's assume that we are in a state of hunger. So, first question, when do we eat? When we are hungry. When are we hungry? When there is no food in our stomach. How do we know when our stomach is empty? Our stomach growls. These are called hunger pangs. So, remember the processes of motivation. There should be a deficiency, right? First. And the deficiency is lack of food here. And afterwards, a need arises. A need to eat. And for this, our physiological system calls us to meet this need by hunger pangs. And afterwards, we eat. We take the action. And if the food is delicious, this is our incentive. I hope you got the point. Otherwise, you can write, you can ask under the video. And you already know the physiology of hunger, as I've mentioned before. So that physiology of hunger as primary motive leads us to eat something. Okay, we get motivated to eat something as a result of the deficiency in my stomach, and afterwards, driven by the primary motive, I eat something to satisfy my need of hunger. And when we are talking about non-homeostatic motivation, this is like sex, nest building. Okay, these are for, remember, evolution theory, natural selection, survival of the fittest. These are also for survival and transmitting the genes to other generations. And an example for non-homeostatic motivation is, let's consider sexual motivation. This is nature's clever way of making people procreate, enabling our species to survive, right? And beyond that, there is these hormones and sexual behavior. Sex hormones affect the development of sexual characteristics and activate sexual behavior as a result. So, you already know, male have testes and they excrete the hormone testosterone, and for female these are ovaries and adrenals and they excrete estrogen. Okay? And lastly, we will talk about learned or social motivation, and these are mostly curiosity, desire for novelty, social affiliation, approval, etc. And let's briefly mention about an example to learn social motivation, and especially the affiliation motivation theory is the belief that people desire to belong to a group or an organization, and as a result they want to achieve affiliation, power and achievements. And actually, the organizational psychologists have used affiliation motivation to gauge how well employees are likely to contribute to team efforts. So, all types of motivation, you can actually match them by the types of motives, right? When we are talking about homeostasis, we are talking about physiologically based needs, which refer to primary motives. When we are talking about non-homeostasis, you had seen this, let me see, under the heading of general motives. And when we are talking about learned motivation type, it refers to the activation of secondary motives. You can match them in order to keep it in your minds. Okay, now what about the functions of motivation? Why do we need that motivation? So here you will see that firstly, If you have motivation, this will activate or energize your behavior. It will direct your behavior, it will create persistence in your behavior, and it will give you strength, and this strength determines activation and direction in face of competing motives. Now, think of yourself. This is motivation. This is a word that we use very frequently in our daily lives. And what makes this motivation do for you? Think that you have motivation to do something. Then what will happen as a result? As a result, you will have an energized, activated behavior. You will take action. And as a result of this action, we don't get motivated just for nothing. If we are motivated, we have a goal, this means. So, if your behavior is activated, if you are ready to take action to do something, this means that you already have something to achieve. You have a goal to achieve. Like, let's say, running 5 kilometers a day. Okay? So, in order to do this, of course, you need persistence. And there will be competing motives in you. They may be physiological or learned, or neither learned or neither physiological. But under the heading of these competing motives, you will have strength to achieve all of this stuff throughout the leading of motivation. Okay? And as I've said before, probably you have seen a lot of theories of motivation, right? These are classified as content theories, process theories, or under any other headings. And when we consider content theories, these are Maslow's hierarchy of needs, Herzberg's two-factor theory, Alderferg's ERG theory, McClellan's theory of needs, Graeger's theory X and theory Y, process theory, Skinner's reinforcement theory, Vroom's expectancy theory, Adams' equality theory, and Luck's goal setting theory, etc. And beyond these, we also have three needs theory and drive reduction theory. What you need to know mostly under the scope of this course is, I think, firstly Maslow's hierarchy of needs and drive reduction theory. Already you will see Skinner's reinforcement theory under the course of psychology of learning in detail. So we will cover the most popular and most comprehensive theories in this lesson, okay? So let's start with drive reduction theory. According to drive reduction theory, a physiological need creates an aroused tension state that motivates an organism to satisfy the need. So, catch it. What does this refer to? Actually, this explains the process of motivation already, isn't it? Remember in our, I think, second or third slide, there was this motivation. Yes, there is this physiological need. It creates a drive or motive, and the basics of this process is to satisfy that need. In that motivation processes part, we had incentive as well. Okay? And according to drive reduction theory, they state that there are inner pushes and external pulls. For inner pushes, we are pushed by our need to eat, to reduce the tension by eating. Okay? So, the basic need of eating arouse from the deficiency in my physiological system, which was triggered by hunger pangs, and in order to satisfy that need and in order to decrease the tension of hunger, I will eat. And the physiological aim of drive reduction is homeostasis. And there are also external pulls. We are pulled by incentives. These are positive or negative stimuli that lure or repel us. For example, the sight of an attractive person, the threat of disapproval. In order to, or a delicious food, let's go on with this hunger example. If we know that as a result of meeting the need of your hunger, and if you will eat a very delicious food to satisfy that need, then that delicious food will be your incentive. Okay? Or in order to decrease the possibility of getting a disapproval from your instructor, you will be motivated to come to class prepared, right? So, in order to meet your need of approval, you will study your lesson, you will be ready in class, and you will minimize the risk of getting any disapproval from your instructor, and this will be the incentive to get approval. And in general, drive reduction theories, under the scope of these theories, actually hunger, thirst, and sex were once considered drives or activators of behavior. The organism is led to reduce that drive by behavior that is reinforcing. The drive produces discomfort that energizes the organism to take action, to reduce the drive, and to achieve equilibrium, or what we call homeostasis. We are after balance, you see, and the reduction of the tension is reinforcing, so we tend to repeat that behavior in a similar situation. So all types of motivation, you can actually match them by the types of motives, right? When we are talking about homeostasis, we are talking about physiologically based needs, which refer to primary motives. When we are talking about non-homeostasis, you had seen this, let me see, under the heading of general motives. And when we are talking about learned motivation type, it refers to the activation of secondary motives. You can match them in order to keep it in your minds. Okay, now what about the functions of the motivation? Why do we need that motivation? So here you will see that firstly, if you have motivation, this will activate or energize your behavior. It will direct your behavior, it will create persistence in your behavior, and it will give you strength, and this strength determines activation and direction in face of competing motives. Now, think of yourself. This is motivation. This is a word that we use very frequently in our daily lives. And what makes this motivation do for you? Think that you have motivation to do something. Then what will happen as a result? As a result, you will have an energized, activated behavior. You will take action. And as a result of this action, we don't get motivated just for nothing. If we are motivated, we have a goal, this means. So, if your behavior is activated, if you are ready to take action to do something, this means that you already have something to achieve. You have a goal to achieve. Like, let's say, running 5 kilometers a day. Okay? So, in order to do this, of course, you need persistence. And there will be competing motives in you. They may be physiological or learned. or neither learned or neither physiological, but under the heading of these competing motives, you will have strength to achieve all of this stuff throughout the leading of motivation. Okay, and as I've said before, probably you have seen a lot of theories of motivation, right? These are classified as content theories, process theories, or under any other headings. And when we consider content theories, these are Maslow's hierarchy of needs, Herzberg's two-factor theory, Alderferg's ERG theory, McClellan's theory of needs, Graeger's theory X and theory Y, process theory, Skinner's reinforcement theory, Vroom's expectancy theory, Adams' equality theory, and Luck's goal-setting theory, etc. And beyond these, we also have three needs theory and drive reduction theory. What you need to know mostly under the scope of this course is, I think, firstly Maslow's hierarchy of needs and drive reduction theory. Already you will see Skinner's reinforcement theory under the course of psychology of learning in detail. So we will cover the most popular and most comprehensive theories in this lesson, okay? So let's start with drive reduction theory. According to drive reduction theory, a physiological need creates an aroused tension state that motivates an organism to satisfy the need. So, catch it. What does this refer to? Actually, this explains the process of motivation already, isn't it? Remember in our, I think, second or third slide, there was this motivation. Yes, there is this physiological need. It creates a drive or motive, and the basics of this process is to satisfy that need. In that motivation processes part, we had incentive as well. Okay? And according to drive reduction theory, they state that there are inner pushes and external pulls. For inner pushes, we are pushed by our need to eat, to reduce the tension by eating. Okay? So, the basic need of eating arouse from the deficiency in my physiological system, which was triggered by hunger pangs, and in order to satisfy that need and in order to decrease the tension of hunger, I will eat. And the physiological aim of drive reduction is homeostasis. And there are also external pulls. We are pulled by incentives. These are positive or negative stimuli that lure or repel us. For example, the sight of an attractive person, the threat of disapproval. In order to, or a delicious food, let's go on with this hunger example. If we know that as a result of meeting the need of your hunger, and if you will eat a very delicious food to satisfy that need, then that delicious food will be your incentive. Okay? Or in order to decrease the possibility of getting a disapproval from your instructor, you will be motivated to come to class prepared, right? So, in order to meet your need of approval, you will study your lesson, you will be ready in class, and you will minimize the risk of getting any disapproval from your instructor, and this will be the incentive to get approval. And in general, drive reduction theories, under the scope of these theories, actually hunger, thirst, and sex were once considered drives or activators of behavior. The organism is led to reduce that drive by behavior that is reinforcing. The drive produces discomfort that energizes the organism to take action, to reduce the drive, and to achieve equilibrium, or what we call homeostasis. We are after balance, you see, and the reduction of the tension is reinforcing, so we tend to repeat that behavior in a similar situation. And lastly, we have a more modern approach to understanding drive reduction, which is physiology of reinforcement. Here, physiologically, I won't go very in details, but dopamine circuits in the brain are activated when we engage in any reinforcing behavior like eating or drinking, or in any behavior that permits these, such as bar pressing or key packing in research animals. And these seem to strengthen the link between the perceptual system that detects the stimulus and the motor system that directs the response. Okay? I do something, and as a result, I achieve something which reinforces my behavior to repeat that specific behavior again. This is like a primary school kids achieving a smiley emoji sticker from his teacher when he did his assignment very neatly and completely. Okay? Then this emoji given by the teacher reinforces the child's behavior to do his homeworks, the other homeworks, again neatly and completely. Okay? And of course, this theory has some problems. It implies that all human behavior is motivated to reduce tension, and we sometimes seek it out. But many reinforcing activities do not reduce the drive. Instead, we want for more. And how do we measure drives, especially those like curiosity or excitement? These are the problems of drive reduction theory. To generally sum up, under the scope of drive reduction theory, as it is mentioned in the motivation processes part, there is a need. And this drive reduction theory states that when I'm under a need, I'm in a need of something, this will create some tension in my physiological body. And afterwards, my attempts, my drives will be through decreasing that tension. Because if I feel hunger, I will not be able to cope it. Or if I'm not fine with getting any disapproval from an authority, this will create some tension, maybe in form of some anxiety or anger. And in order to decrease this tension, I should do something. Okay? They are calling this drive, or in the motivation processes part, we call it sometimes motives. And afterwards, in order to overcome this tension, we take action. We take action to satisfy our need and to decrease the tension of the situation. The drive reduction theory says this, but they also add that as a result of this process, you can get an incentive in the form of reinforcement. And this will, in the future, they say, trigger your behavior to repeat. This means each time you get hungry, you will eat a very delicious food. Each time you get afraid of getting some disapproval from your instructor, you will be more prepared in the class to answer her questions. Okay? If you have any questions, please write them. Okay, and let's come to our very famous theory, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This is a content theory, and under this Maslow's need hierarchy, needs were categorized as 5 levels of lower to higher order needs. We are talking about needs. And according to the theory, individuals must satisfy firstly lower order needs before they can satisfy higher order needs. This means start with the simple and basic one and go on to the complex and difficult ones. Okay, satisfied needs will no longer motivate, they say. And motivating a person depends on knowing at what level that person is on the hierarchy. If you know at which hierarchy level a person is, for a further behavior you can motivate that person. And when we are talking about hierarchy of needs, the lower order ones are classified as physiological and safety needs, and higher order ones social, self-esteem, and self-actualization needs. Okay, let's go with them. Okay, at the bottom we have these physiological or survival needs. These are food, drink, shelter, sex, warmth, physical comfort. If we have these, we think that we will survive. Okay, according to this theory, of course. And afterwards, our safety needs come after physiological needs, and these are job security, safety regulations. Am I feeling myself safe in world? Am I able to earn money? And previously, did I meet my physiological or survival needs? Am I able to survive? Am I able to find water to drink? Am I able to eat something? Am I able to sleep somewhere closed? And am I able to earn money? Am I safe, or is there a threat for someone to just kill me while I'm walking in the street? Okay, these are under the scope of these safety needs. And we are going through our third step from the bottom, social needs. Hey, what about my friendship, love, affection, and belongingness relationship? Do I have friends? Am I able to engage in any love relationship? Do I feel any affection towards anyone? Do I feel any belongingness? Do I belong to my family? Do I belong to a culture? Do I belong to a country? And you see, from the physiological needs, we are going towards our psychological needs. And here comes esteem needs. These include my ego, my status in life, at my job, at my work. Am I someone being respected by others? Do I have any prestige? Am I able to get promotion in life, at work, or another thing, or at my hobby? Do I have any influence over other people, over life? What about my power? Am I a powerful person? Okay, these are all my esteem needs, my self-esteem. I need ego to survive in this life. I need to satisfy that need. I need status, I need prestige, of course, not exaggerating, but I need these in order to survive, right? In order to be successful. So am I at a level where I was able to meet my needs? So as you saw, we started with physiological survival needs. Went on with safety needs. Afterwards, love, affection, and belongingness needs, and esteem needs, and we are coming to the last stage. This is need for self-actualization. This is a very difficult thing, by the way. And Maslow emphasizes need for self-actualization, and this is a healthy individual prime motivation. It explains why people write poetry, plays, book, music, play music, act in films, take up hobbies, climb mountains, take part in charity activities. We all are in need of exploring ourselves and to find ourselves. If I am able to find myself, find meaning in my life, as Yalom have stated, then I will come to a point to actualize myself. This is a debate actually, if someone can really actualize him or herself before that. Maybe we can discuss it later. But this is really something important. Just searching for yourself, exploring yourself, and trying to find yourself and to actualize yourself. So, self-actualization in this regard means actualizing one's potential, becoming all one is capable of becoming. Okay, this is very important, and very few people, I guess, are able to achieve this. You are acting at the beginning of this journey. So, totally, our dear hierarchy of needs model is this. So, this theory says that we are driven by our these needs, and in order to satisfy these needs, we should take action to survive, to be alive in life, to feel safe, to feel love, to feel esteemed, to actualize myself. And so the drive to actualize all of these needs, to meet those needs, all require some actions to take, which will trigger us to feel ourselves motivated to do. And lastly, we have this incentive theory of motivation, and under this incentive theory, we have these types of intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. Okay, intrinsically motivated behaviors are performed because of the sense of personal satisfaction that they bring. According to Deci, these behaviors are defined as ones for which the reward is the satisfaction of performing the activity itself. Intrinsic motivation thus represents engagement in an activity for its own sake. For example, if you are in college because you enjoy learning new things and expanding your knowledge, you are intrinsically motivated to be there. For example, my brother is a sportsman, and you can imagine how professionally he is working out, but he has just intrinsic motivation for it because he loves doing sports, and it is just for doing it, not anything else. And when we consider extrinsically motivated behaviors, on the other hand, these are performed in order to receive something from others or avoid certain negative outcomes. At this point, I don't remember the beginning of our video, but maybe While I was talking about these intrinsic and extrinsic types of motivation, I think I said under drive reduction theory, I split it. Freud is here. Okay, this is incentive theory. If I said drive reduction theory, it's wrong. It is incentive theory of motivation, where we consider the types of motivation as intrinsic and extrinsic, okay? If I have missaid it, just consider this one. I'm confused now. Okay, anyway, let's go back to extrinsically motivated behaviors. As I've said before, this is to receive something from others and to avoid negative outcomes. Theorists define extrinsic motivation as engaging in an activity to obtain an outcome that is separable from the activity itself. You do it because of other people. And the extrinsic motivator is outside of the individual, like rewards, such job promotion, money, sticker, candy, etc. are examples of good examples of extrinsic motivators. For example, a child hates doing homework, but since the teacher gives candies to the ones who do their homeworks neatly, and if the child really likes those candies, then this will be extrinsic motivator for him, the candy. Okay, he doesn't love to do the homework because he likes doing homework, just to get the candy. So this is extrinsic motivation. Okay, so thank you. This was the end of our slides. Basically we covered the process of motivation and basically drive reduction theory, Maslow's hierarchy of needs theory, and incentive theory of motivation, taking into consideration the physiological part taking role in getting motivated to do something. And this week's question is, how do you motivate to do something in general? And explain something you are motivated to do. And is there a motivation behind it? Is there a need behind it? Pardon me. And what are your motives? And are you extrinsically or intrinsically motivated? Okay. You can write your answers under the comments part in the YouTube video. See you soon. Take care. Bye bye.